At last, yeah, we're on. Usually happens when I have not had food. Uh, okay, guys, I am going to speak to you a bit about functional training today. Basically, I'm going to speak to you uh, from my point of view and from my experience generally in life. Um just a bit of a background about me. I'm originally from Afghanistan, born and brought up here in India. I've probably written down everything what you want to know. Um, the my journey started with functional training, or if you call just say fitness, when I was very young. Not good in education, so I kept on running on the field as much as I could, and kind of ended up making some a bit of career for myself. That's me. My mom calls me Sokhai, which means skinny legs. For some reason, I don't have them now, and I worked hard on them. So, just this is again another part of what I wanted to speak to you about. Okay, now got three basic small questions which I get usually when I work. So I work for a gym called Cult, if you've known about it. And when I am in the gym, the people usually call me and say that, okay, so what is functional training, or what are the pros and cons of it, and how do we choose who to train with? So we have a lot of trainers who are Muay Thai trainers, or martial art trainers, or boxing trainers, and then I have strength and conditioning. So they have a lot of varieties. And when you are in Bangalore, a city like Bangalore, you have more people telling you that this is right, this is wrong, and you should go for functional training or weight training or CrossFit. And the little mind goes a bit, hmm, what do I choose? What's right for me? So I kind of thought if I could speak just basically about functional training and what actually it means. For me, for some of us, it could mean this, which is doing something which doesn't mean anything. Um, for and this is all over social media. Videos, you can find videos. You can find, as you say, on Twitter or on Instagram, people doing weird stuff, which doesn't have a purpose to it. So you cannot judge it by, you cannot say that you will do a movement like this and you can probably stand on two boxes with a man between your legs and be a sprinter, or in a woman between. So, what is functional training? And to define it, there are four definitions which came out through my research over a period of time, and kind of realized this is more to do. Some people can call it lifting weights. Who can lift how much weight? Some people call it on who can play the best sport, or so who's the best good footballer is a good functional fitness guy. People who say people who can move in many dimension very quickly. So quick dimension movement can also be called a good functional movement, and just daily life activities can also be called functional movements. So when we try to speak more about this, the the special term of functional training, which is now in this market, is being used in a very vague way. We don't kind of understand what it actually means. I don't know if you've ever asked yourself what functional training actually means. There are a lot of products in the market which is being sold in terms of you do this, you do CrossFit and everything, you from weight training and everything is functional training. But what actually does it mean? So, and I asked myself, what does it mean? A week before, when Sandhya said, "Can we do this?" Sorry, that's my laptop. Can we do this program? And I said, yes, we can. So I went back where I could. Where would you go back if you had to learn about a word? Exactly. I went back to the dictionary. I said, what does it mean actually? It means Purpose, okay, it means a task. So if, for example, Sandhya wants to run 10K, what's the purpose? Running the 10K, yeah? So that becomes her functional training. If, for example, I have my friend here, um, uh, and his goal is to get big muscles. Um, that becomes his functional training. But in today's world, what we decide is that weightlifting is not functional training because it's just compound movements. So it's not called as functional training. So anybody who goes to the gym is not doing functional training. Anybody who is jumping over boxes or doing fancy stuff is doing functional training. So, but we don't realize that weightlifting, for example, for just let's take rugby players, we are supposed to do functional training from our coach's point of view, which means moving in many directions because that's what our sport requires. But if I do bicep curls, which is for to build big muscles, am I doing functional training? Yes and no. Okay, so uh, there is a carry over to it. So as a rugby player, I don't need to do this because in the sport of rugby, I am not going to do anything like this. Probably I'll lift a guy to throw him on the other side, but that's going to happen very rarely. I would, yes, but what would that help me? That kind of workout, it will build my tendons stronger. My connective tissues are going to get stronger, and that automatically carries over to what I need in my sport. Now, to say that I don't need to do bicep curls for my rugby can also be wrong because I need the strength. So I need to do that non-functional movement of it. Coming back to again to the same rugby point of view, function is equal to purpose. So the purpose of my training is to get stronger is equal to goal. Now equals to goal means that I need to pass the ball, which is more important than lift the person. Okay, so I need to train myself specifically for that kind of movement. So the rotary kind of movement where my shoulder needs to move quicker so that I can pass the ball quicker, rather than doing bicep curls, which is movement here. But it is again correlating together. You need the strength from a non-functional point of view, but you also need specific rugby training, which is for rotary movement, which you can also find in tennis to rotate your shoulder, and also in in rugby. So there is again a correlation. So when you go to a gym and when you go to a trainer who says, I'm going to make you do functional training, and if he says that let's not lift 150 kg deadlift because that will make you muscle, especially women come to me and say that I don't want to lift heavy because I will build muscles. And I tell to them, trust me, I've been trying to build it for the last 15, 16 years and it's very difficult to build. So just relax. You have to be really, really hardcore to build muscles. Okay, pros and cons. And I will tell you from my, again, as a rugby player's point of view, and from my experience. I worked with a lot of trainers and coaches, and I was coached by a lot. There is a lot of pros and cons in terms of what the person knowledge is. And it brings me again back to the same thing as purpose and goals. If your coach knows what he wants to achieve out of you, it can be mentally and physically, the person will be able to generate that kind of stuff out of you. But if the person doesn't know, then it backfires. For me, it backfired a lot with my knee injury, and I don't blame my coach for it. But when I went back to other coaches, senior coaches, the kind of training I got from my first coach kind of really um, didn't make me ready for my professional career. And then I worked with a lot of other coaches who kind of explained to me and told me you need to work on your weaker links than work regularly on your stronger link. For example, my weakest link was my squat. Okay, if everybody knows a squat. Now, I had really, really bad form. My knees would always cave in. Yeah, and that's where I got the injury from. So I kept on doing squat, thinking that the more I would squat, I will get better at it. But I didn't realize that I am not working on my caving in of the knees. I am just working on my squat. So I kept on working on that, and I started lifting more and more. But I started also getting my knees weaker because it just started caving in. I lost my running form because again the knees are caving. So one of the coaches worked with me specifically on that. He said we will bring this element out of the chain, we will work on it, and then we will put it back in the chain. And it worked for me. I don't know if you've ever heard of the gym machine called the good girl, bad girl machine. It's a bit of a funny name. You'll have to find it on the internet. Um, and that kind of movement helped me a lot with my caving in of the knee. So it helped me reduce that. And I then started seeing results slowly. As a fitness lover, I always tell people to be patient, to try to understand what the body requires, to try to see what kind of training you will need. From a coach point of view, as a rugby player and as a trainer, I always learned that you've got to look at the situation of what the athlete requires. In my point of view, where I work in a gym now, we have various kind of people from different background with different physical abilities. And from my point of view, working in a group, that's the most difficult part, to understand who requires what. So if you at some point of time come across somebody who's looking for advice, and you are doing some sort of fitness by yourself, if you are not knowledgeable or qualified or have the experience to advise the people, at the moment I would say don't. Refer the person to somebody who has a bit of experience about that, because by you just randomly giving them advice because you've gone at some point of through some sort of exercise can put the person in a bit of trouble physically. Okay, this has come to me, you can go through it, this has come to me many times. Um, there are two sides to it. A fitness trainer will actually do this to you from a positive point of view, or if you don't pay him, he's going to again do this to you. Okay? Um, but trust me, all trainers who are actually trying to work with the client and is pushing you. I have two people who I work in the gym who actually curse me a lot. Um, and if they're trying to push you, they will understand that your physical abilities from when you joined in the gym to what you are now has increased. You will struggle every day when you come to the gym. And the struggle you think is the starting is not the starting. You've actually gone past that and you're struggling for a better score or a rep or anything. So let them push you. But also, as a client or as somebody who's being trained, you need to start doing your research on what the person is teaching you. So ask him questions. Ask him questions which you have no answers to and you have no idea what the answer is. Go on the internet and see if his answers are matching to it. And then decide if the person is qualified enough to, because you are not only just giving your time to him, you're giving your whole kind of the responsibility of your body to him or her to get it sorted. Few things I would like to just point out before you start working with a personal trainer. Certificate is something which I don't push too much upon. I will rather focus more on the guy's experience, but then again, you cannot drive a bike without a license. I know I drove it for 5 years without a license, still alive, but I have a license now. Experience, research about the guy or the girl. If he's training you, it take time. It's okay. You've already spent 6 months not doing anything. Now spend one more month research about it. Don't be scared to let go of the person if he's not good. Understand if the person has compassion for you. So try to see if you can work with people who have a bit of not too much pushy. Patience. Trainers need to have patience. As a client, you need to have patience. You don't get guns very quickly. So you need to wait. You will start seeing results. Progression is something very important for trainers to understand, that don't put people under 150 kilo squats on the first day. You will get them injured. So take your time. That's it. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Hi, Zaffar.
Hi.
My name's Sharoon, and not really a question, but maybe a high-five and a hug for saying that women, need to lift, and if they lift, they're not going to put on those.
Can you? I can't hear you.
I said a big high-five and a hug because you said, if women lift, they're not going to put on those ugly big muscles. I think more women should lift, and that's something that's a good thing.
I don't think
thank you for that.
muscles are ugly.
They aren't.
I don't think muscles are. It's sad that how our society has defined women as. So hopefully it'll change at some point of time. But women also look very beautiful with muscles. So yeah.
Sharon is going to be speaking about that shortly. Any more questions?
I seem to be asking too many questions. Having been through the process of having a personal trainer, not working out, you said don't be afraid to let the person go. That's great. You also speak about certification. When I looked into that, I find that it's extremely confusing. For example, some of the certifications that are most well regarded, like ACE, I discovered that that is an online program. There is no actual, not just monitoring, there's no actual physical training, evaluation. If you have enough money to pay for the course, and if you can memorize the information and regurgitate it, you're an ACE trainer. So on what basis does somebody like me evaluate certification? What am I supposed to be looking for?
If I had to ask the same question to myself, and if you were about to train me, I would go back home and see. Too many trainers are very well known, so you cannot find them online also. But I would like to go back to your Facebook page and see what kind of training you do. Okay. The other thing I would say, somebody who's done ACE might have no idea about. So you get a certificate because it's an online thing, and that's what I said. Don't go for certificates. It's on the list. You must tick it, but look for the person on experience. I would even ask you to go out on a coffee with him and learn about what the person is intents are. If the person is actually willing to work with you and the person is actually asks you, so it's very important when a trainer has to ask you. It's very, just say no on the first time. If the person says, if you say, I want you to train me, and he says, okay, I'll train you, I need 25 or 10,000 rupees also, say, no, thank you. Don't. If till the person doesn't ask you about goals, your purpose, or your background, if you have injuries, anything, don't go for it, because he's just, or she's just there just to get a bit of cash. To be very honest, yeah.
So, a follow-up to someone's question. So, are there certifications that trainers can get that deal with people with injury, like a special certification that they would have for sports people who are recovering from an injury, specific to, say, knee, shoulder? So, are there certifications for that? So, if somebody had an injury, me for example, should I look for that certification? And if I should, which certification should I look for?
So you will find at the moment, I would say, if you are actually interested in looking to work with um, injured athletes, which I do a lot, or injured clients, um, if you would go from my point of view, I would say look for a trainer who's working with athletes. At the moment, the priority we always give, as she said, is to certificates. You want to find a trainer who is working with athletes and then work with them. Yes, there are millions of certificates online. CSCS, there are quite lengthy ones which are 6 months, 7 months. Then there is again a 2-day certification of personal training. But then, what are you learning out of it? You invest that cash in it. What is the reward you want to get out of it? I would probably say you invest that cash in your transportation to go to this guy, work with him, get knowledge out of it, then get your license. But there are a lot of online and even in Bangalore, a lot of training certificates which you can get. But the client who's injured, for me, example, has a knee injury, will automatically know that you don't know anything, because he or she has gone to a physiotherapist 6 times before he's come and met you, and then you go, okay, I don't know anything about it. So work with a trainer who's working with athletes or clients, and then try to learn from them. Yeah.
Hi, Zaffar.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay, so one first question would be that you mentioned that there are forums online, right?
Yeah.
Where I need to go back and verify what my trainer is recommending.
Yes.
So any such suggestions?
Can you come the first one?
So I said that there are forums online, right?
Yes.
So any such suggestions on these forums where I can actually go read about stuff or the suggestions that my trainer has given me?
So are you trying to ask me which?
I'm asking you if there are any forums.
See, in Bangalore, yeah, there is, you put me in touch, all these, there's a put me in touch Bangalore fitness trainer on Facebook. So that's something which I use if I have to give some advice or do some of the work I do. So that's one place I find. There are a lot of other places, but that's one point where you can get a lot of good trainers and also good advice from. It's called the Facebook Put Me in Touch Bangalore Fitness.
Okay, thank you.
This is different from the regular Put Me in Touch group, right?
Yeah. You have it's a closed group, so you have to.
All right. Thanks a lot, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Zaffar also